For over 700 years, from the fall of the Song dynasty to the time of the Republic of China, every child knows by heart the Song of Righteousness, written by Wen T'ien-hsiang. Across the continents and the seas, through the seasons, from day to night, regardless of time or place, children recite it loudly and reverentially. It is proof that his words have moved countless generations, and the integrity and righteousness he exemplified have lighted up our world. On 20th December, in the first year of the Hsiang-hsing reign, 2nd February 1279, Wen T'ien-hsiang's army reached Wubo Ridge in Hai-feng County, Kwang-tung Province. There, he was captured by the Yuan army. After unsuccessfully attempting suicide by poison and hunger strike, he was transported under guard to Yen-ching, now Peking, on 1st October in the following year. On 6th February of the second year of the Hsiang-hsing reign, 19th March 1279, the Yuan army vanquished the Song army at sea near Ya-shan in Hsin-hui County, Kwang-tung Province. The left Grand Councilor, Hsiu-fu, carried Emperor Bing on his back and threw themselves into the sea and drowned, thus ending the Song dynasty. In the summer of the 18th year of the Chih-yüan reign, 1281, Wen T'ien-hsiang wrote the Song of Righteousness whilst imprisoned by the Yuan army. On 9th December, in the 19th year of the Chih-yüan reign, 9th January 1283, he was executed at the age of 47 after refusing to surrender for 4 years. Wen T'ien-hsiang was born in 1236 and died for his country in 1283. His original name was Yun Sun, Zhi Tian-xiang, Lü San, Song Rui, Hao Wen San. Later, he used Tian-xiang as his everyday name. He was a native of Luling, modern-day Jian, Jiangxi Province. In the 4th year of the Baoyou reign, 1256, under Emperor Li Zong of Song dynasty, he took the metropolitan examination and was originally ranked 5th among the successful Jingsi graduates. However, the emperor personally promoted him to first place, making him Zhuangyuan, the principal graduate. His successive official positions included administrative clerk of Ruizhou, auxiliary academician of the Institute of Academician, junior compiler of the Historiography Academy, examining editor of the True Records Institute, administrative clerk of Ningguo Prefecture, Directorate of Armaments, administrative clerk of Ganzhou, judicial commissioner of Jiangxi Province, military commissioner of Jiangxi Province, minister of the Ministry of War, administrative clerk of Pingjiang Prefecture, academician of the Hall for Aid in Governance, Right Grand Councilor, and Military Affairs Commissioner. He was conferred the title of Junior Guardian and Xin Guo Gong. He is thus respectfully called Wen Xin Guo Gong by later generations. Before his execution, he concealed his final words in his clothing. The words have been extolled through the ages. They read, "Though I hold the positions of minister and grand councillor, I have failed to save the country and right the world. Our army was defeated and our country humiliated. I am a prisoner and should have died long ago. Since my capture, it has not been possible to commit suicide. Today, heaven grants me this opportunity to die. I will kneel and bow southward in the direction of the Sung court. These are my words of devotion. Confucius taught benevolence. Mencius taught righteousness. When righteousness is exhausted, benevolence is attained. What have we learned from studying the works of the ancient sages? From now on, I no longer need to be ashamed of myself. The last words of Wen T'ien-hsiang, Grand Councilor of the Sung dynasty. In the biography of the Councilor, written by Hu Guang, 1369 to 1418 of the Ming dynasty, the scene of his martyrdom was recorded in this manner. Before his execution, he calmly said to the officer, "My work is done." He asked the people present which direction is north and south. After bowing twice towards the south, he was then put to death. Imprisoned for 4 years, he was unwavering and unyielding. Even though Sung dynasty was vanquished, he buried the great Sung in his heart and guarded her with body and soul. I have a treasured hanging scroll with the ink rubbing of a zither that belonged to Wen T'ien-hsiang. There's an engraved inscription on the zither with his calligraphy. It reads, "Wind through pine trees sweeps my bed, drizzling rain more like mist. As an official to provinces far and wide, not a quiet, lonely moment to tell. In front of this fine zither by myself, all worldly thoughts are cast aside. Many times the emperor has honored me. Surely my grand ambitions mustn't wane." In the first year of the Jin-yan reign, the emperor requested my presence at court. Staying at Chih-yüan temple for the night, my reminiscence is laden with emotions. I composed this poem to be used on the zither, Wen San. There are 2 engraved seals with these words: "Benevolence is attained when righteousness is exhausted." Seal of T'ien-hsiang, Sung Rui. 7 years before Wen T'ien-hsiang's martyrdom, on 5th February of the 2nd year of the De You reign, 21st February 1276, Emperor Kuang-tung of the Sung dynasty led his ministers and officials to surrender to the Yuan dynasty in the provisional capital Lin'an. Wen T'ien-hsiang hired a boat and fled in the night. He arrived in Zhenjiang of Jiangsu Province on 18th February. He then traveled onwards to Zhenzhou of Jiangsu on 1st March, Wenzhou of Zhejiang Province on 4th April, and finally reached the provisional capital Fu'an on 26 May. On 1st May, Prince Yi ascended the throne in Fu'an of Fujian Province, becoming Emperor Duanzong and changing the name of the reign to Jin-yan. Upon Wen T'ien-hsiang's arrival in Fu'an, he was appointed Grand Master for Thorough Council, Right Grand Councilor, Military Affairs Commissioner, and Chief Military Commissioner. The engraving on the zither was certainly made after 1st May. In annual records, Wen T'ien-hsiang wrote, "On 1st May, Emperor Jin-yan ascended the throne in Fu'an, changing the name of the reign. As an academician reader-in-waiting of the Guanwen Hall, I was summoned to the provisional capital. On the 26th day of the same month, I arrived at the city gate of the provisional capital." The words engraved on the zither, "The emperor requested my presence at court," refer to the summons from Emperor Jing-yan to the provisional capital Fu'an. The other engraved words, "Staying at Chih-yüan Temple for the night," refer to a temple in Chih-yüan Mountain in Jizhou, now known as Jian of Jiangxi Province. Wen T'ien-hsiang left the provincial capital on 4th July and arrived in Nanjian, now Nanping of Fujian Province, on 13th July. He established an administration, gathered troops, stockpiled provisions, and planned to recover Jiangxi. On 1st October, he led his troops to Dingzhou, now Changding of Fujian. At the time, Liu Zhu was rallying loyalist volunteer forces in Jiangxi to join Wen T'ien-hsiang. Additionally, Wu Jun was sent to Ruijing of Jiangxi in order to take Yudu of Jiangxi. Zhao Sisang was sent to recover Ningdu of Jiangxi, passing through Ssu-tsung of Jiangxi. As fighting took place in various regions of Jiangxi, spending the night at Chih-yüan Temple referred to a night in the winter of the first year of Jing-yan reign, 1276, when Wen T'ien-hsiang was in Jiangxi himself. The engraved words, "My reminiscence is laden with emotions," refer to that same night in the winter of the first year of Jing-yan reign, when Wen T'ien-hsiang reflected on the favor and trust bestowed by Emperor Duanzong earlier that year. On the body of the zither, Wen T'ien-hsiang had a seal engraved with the words, "Benevolence is attained when righteousness is exhausted." 7 years later, as he faced martyrdom, he wrote these last words, "Confucius taught benevolence, Mencius taught righteousness. When righteousness is exhausted, benevolence is attained." These sentences from different times reinforce and validate each other. We can thus tell that loyalty and righteousness are not qualities that can be attained instantaneously. They are dedications meditated upon at all time, for months and years. At the top right of the ink rubbing of the zither, Wu Tinkang of Qing dynasty inscribed these words, "A zither that belonged to Wen Xinhuo. Zhuo Qing, my elder friend, asked me to inscribe this. Wang Jiamen from my hometown borrowed the zither to make ink rubbings. Since on, there are ink rubbings of the zither in the world." In Wu Shu-ye of the Daoguang reign, Circuit Intendant Dong Chuan, a descendant of Wen Xinhuo, acquired the zither from Zhang Yutian from Houguan, ensuring a befitting place for the zither. I was asked to make some ink rubbings and presented this copy as a gift. Seal impression, Yuan-sen. This ink rubbing was handmade by Wu Tinkang. Wu Tinkang was born in 1799, 字元生, 号康甫, 战俘, 战父, 敬斋, and Ru Zhi in his later years. He was a native of Tongcheng of An-yeh Province. He served as an official in central Zhejiang for several decades. He was an expert in epigraphy, seal script, clerical script, seal engraving, and bamboo carving. He painted occasionally as well. The zither that belonged to Wen T'ien-hsiang was originally in the art collection of Zhang Yutian from Houguan. In Wu Shu-ye of the Daoguang reign, it was acquired by Dong Chuan, a descendant of Wen T'ien-hsiang. Wang Jiamen then borrowed it for the purpose of making ink rubbings. Wu Shi year of the Daoguang reign is the equivalent of the 18th year of the Daoguang reign, which corresponds to 1838. Wang Jiamen was born in 1743 and passed away in 1818. His original name was Zi-yi, a native of Chung-cheng of An-yeh Province. He served as prefect of Zhenjiang of Jiangsu Province, intendant of Ssu-tsung grain tax circuit, surveillance commissioner, and provisional administration commissioner of Gansu Province. On the lower left side of the ink rubbing, a song dedicated to the zither that belonged to Grand Councilor Wen T'ien-hsiang by Wu Hsi-ch'i of the Qing dynasty was inscribed by Wu An-yeh, grandson of Wu Hsi-ch'i. The words are: upper strings rattle like wind through pine, lower strings surge like Ya-shan waves. The pluck and strum in days of yore, rocks were cracked and heaven shook. From Yongjia city to Chih-yüan temple, sleepless nights in rain and gloom, brushing the 7 strings from the trunk, a poem to sing a loyalist's tears. Beneath hefty clouds, mountain spirits wept, fathomless gratitude to emperor's favors. Grand Councilor's zither is sorrowful indeed, no more different to Grand Councilor's heart. Remember, he nearly died of hunger in the war. Who will now mourn the imperial grave? The end of Jing-yan could be foreseen, yet he was gallant and driven all the same. A prisoner at Wubo Ridge, a captive ship at Ling-ding Sea, pitiful passages of gut-wrenching pain. Try spend a night on Chih-yüan mountain, listen to the sad tune of dragon's moan. Born in south and killed in north, only a lonely zither with bygone words. An old friend kept his fabled inkstone, grieving him with a scepter at forlorn Shih-k'ei. Alas, lacquer finish worn by 5 centuries of woe, where is the Grand Councilor's ship at birth? Across majestic mountains and flowing rivers, his noble heart is still with us here. He wishes to be dressed in ceremonial robe, to travel the old country once more. The poem, a song dedicated to the zither that belonged to Grand Councilor Wen T'ien-hsiang, was composed by my grandfather, the Chancellor of the Directorate of Education. It was published in Zhenhui Ji. The master of Longyan Cao Tang requested me to inscribe this poem next to the ink rubbing. On the 7th day after Li Dong Ding Si year, in the 7th year of the Hsiang-feng reign, 1857, Wu An-yeh, a sojourner in Yuanjiang. Seal impression, the seal of Wu Yuanze. The 7th day after Li Dong Ding Si year, in the 7th year of the Hsiang-feng reign, corresponds to 14th November, 1857. Wu An-yeh was born in 1808 and passed away in 1886. His original name was Ssu-ch'i. Later, he changed his name to Ying, then to An-yeh, Zi, Zhangxian, Shangxian, Yuanze, Hao, Yuanjiang Jike, son of Wu Qingpeng, grandson of Wu Hsi-ch'i. He was a native of Qiantang of Zhejiang Province. He obtained the Juren degree in Jiawu year of the Daoguang reign, 1834, and was appointed reserve district magistrate. He was skilled in calligraphy and proficient in medicine. His works include drafts from Xiaoxiechuan Studio in 2 volumes and Li Yue Bian Wen. The sentence, "My grandfather, the Chancellor of the Directorate of Education," refers to Wu Hsi-ch'i, born in 1746 and passed away in 1818. His zi was Shenzhen, Hao Guren. He was a native of Qiantang, Zhejiang Province. He attained the Jingsi degree in the 40th year of the Qianlong reign, 1775. In the 6th year of the Jiaqing reign, 1801, he was appointed Chancellor of the Directorate of Education, in charge of An-yeh Academy in Yangzhou. He was skilled in calligraphy, particularly in regular and running scripts, and was celebrated for his poetry. His works include You-zhen-wei Zai collection, a song dedicated to the zither that belonged to Grand Councilor Wen T'ien-hsiang, can be found in the poetry collection of You-zhen-wei Zai, Volume 3. There are two collector's seals on the ink rubbing of the zither. The words are Profound Transmission. Previously at Tian-ji-zi Place in Bingzhou. I have seen several ink rubbings of the zither that belong to Wen Xingguo Gong, all handmade by Wu Ting-kang, but with inscriptions by various eminent scholars. On one of the ink rubbings of the zither, the inscription by Wu Ting-kang accounted in detail the provenance of the zither. The text reads, when the zither was still in the collection of He-su from Houguan, it was accompanied by an album 7 to 8 inches thick with inscriptions and poems by eminent gentlemen of the Dongling Academy in the Ming Dynasty, as well as gentlemen from the current dynasty. Later, the zither was passed down from the collection of Li Qiu-tan to that of Zhang Yu-tian. Each kept it for 30 to 40 years. Then, Mr. Wang Jiamen and Mr. Wang Lan-gai began to making rubbings of the zither. When Zhang Yu-tian was posted to Zhijiang, he brought the zither along with him. Chen Shuo-si, Minister of the Ministry of Rites from Xincheng, borrowed it for viewing and asked me to make some ink rubbings. I also befriended Yu-tian through our common literary interests and got to know the provenance of the zither. Now, Provincial Administration Commissioner Dong Chuan from Wumen, the 18th generation descendant of Wen T'ien-hsiang, is serving as the Surveillance Commissioner of Hedong. He sought to return the zither to the shrine of Wen T'ien-hsiang. Yu-tian was so touched that he gifted the zither to him to ensure a befitting permanent depository. Mr. Zhou Zhuang instructed me to chronicle this. Wen T'ien-hsiang's zither passed through successive collectors, He-su from Houguan, Li Qiu-tan and Zhang Yu-tian in the Qing dynasty. During late Ming and early Qing, there was an album of poems and inscriptions nearly 7 to 8 inches thick by prominent figures. After countless calamities, the zither and the album have likely turned to ashes. We are now only left with profound yearning. Dong Chuan, the 18th generation descendant of Wen T'ien-hsiang, sought to return the zither to the ancestral shrine to provide a befitting depository. Moved by Dong Chuan's filial piety and Wen T'ien-hsiang's loyalty, Zhang Yu-tian generously gave the zither away as a gift. Such was the ancient spirit of scholars in the past. Unfortunately, it is unclear whether the shrine refers to the shrine in Jian of Jiangxi Province, Dongcheng of Peking, Lucheng of Wenzhou, or Nanshan of Shenzhen. In the poetry collection of You-zhen-wei Zai, Volume 3 by Wu Hsi-ch'i, there is an introduction to a song dedicated to the zither that belonged to Grand Councilor Wen T'ien-hsiang. The introduction begins with the sentence, "The zither has been in the collection of the whole family in Fujian." It seems to imply that the zither had been in the He family collection for several generations. The name Mr. Zhou Zhuang mentioned in the sentence, Mr. Zhou Zhuang instructed me to chronicle this, refers to Xu Tongbo. He was born in 1775 and passed away in 1854. According to the extended biographies of Xiu engravers, Xu Tongbo was originally named Da Chun, Zi Zhou Zhuang. He attained the Gongsen degree and was a native of Ya-shan. He studied under his maternal uncle, Zhang Tingji, 1768 to 1848, who was well versed with the 6 methods regarding the formation and usage of Chinese characters. He also had extensive knowledge of ancient texts and unusual characters. Whenever Zhang encountered ancient artifacts, he would always invite Xu to study with him together. Xu wrote 从古堂款式学 in 16 volumes, and most of Zhang's personal seals were carved by Xu. Xu was also skilled in poetry and wrote draft poems from 从古堂. The zither that belonged to Wen T'ien-hsiang had been the subject of poems by many notable figures, such as Jiang Siquan, 1725 to 1784, who wrote a poem dedicated to the zither that belonged to Grand Councilor Wen T'ien-hsiang. Lu Yuanhong, 1750 to 1819, also wrote a poem dedicated to the zither that belonged to the Grand Councilor Wen T'ien-hsiang. Ya-shan, 1781 to 1850, wrote a poem after viewing the zither ink rubbing of Grand Councilor Wen T'ien-hsiang. Xu Zongyong, 1769 to 1842, wrote a poem for the zither ink rubbing of Grand Councilor Wen T'ien-hsiang. I have a treasured hanging scroll impressed with the seals of Grand Councilor Wen T'ien-hsiang of the Song dynasty, 960 to 1279, and Grand Secretary Shih K'ei-fa of the Ming dynasty, 1368 to 1644. It was put together by Ge Chang-ying. How fortuitous that the ink rubbing of the zither that belonged to Wen T'ien-hsiang, along with the impressions of seals that belonged to Wen T'ien-hsiang and Shih K'ei-fa, can be displayed simultaneously to complement each other in my faraway abode across the strait. 2 seals were impressed on the hanging scroll. On the right is a seal impression with the words Seal of Wen T'ien-hsiang. On the left is a seal impression with the words Dao Ling. The inscription by the collector, Ge Chang-ying, from the early Republican period reads: Seals from Grand Councilor Wen and Grand Secretary Shih. The Wen-san jade seal has a turtle-shaped knob with no side inscription. The Daoling bronze seal has an inverted pot-shaped knob and was made by Zhuge Yongyan. They are the extant artworks treasured by Chuan Putong after the plunders. These impressions were made for fellow enthusiasts on 19th March of the 5th Jiasen year after the martyrdom of the Ming Emperor Ssu-tsung, written by Ge Chang-ying, Ssu-tsung from Danghu. Impressions of personal seals, Chang-ying. In the 17th year of the Chung-cheng reign of the Ming dynasty, 1644, Li Zhicheng sacked Peking. On 19th March, according to the Chinese agricultural calendar, Emperor Chung-cheng hung himself at Meisan. This date corresponds to 25th April, 1644. 300 years later, on 19th March of the Chinese agricultural calendar, in the 33rd year of the Republic of China, which corresponds to 11th April 1944, also the 7th year of the War of Resistance against Japanese aggression. Ge Changying made this vertical scroll. He subsequently wrote these words. They are the extant artworks treasured by Chuan Putang after the plunders. 5 years earlier, in the autumn of the 28th year of the Republic of China, 1939, the four major seal collectors, Ge Changying, Ding Fuzhi, 1879 to 1949, Gao Luoyuan, 1886 to 1976, and my great uncle, Yu Xu-wen, 1897 to 1942, were deeply worried that their seal collections would be completely obliterated by war. So together, they compiled the extant seals from Ding Chou-ye calamity and made 21 copies. It was a monumental publication in the field of seal collecting. Ding Chou-ye corresponds to the 26th year of the Republic, 1937, when the Marco Polo Bridge incident broke out on 7th July, starting full-scale war between China and Japan. Seal impression on the left reads Daoling, which is the hall of Shih K'ei-fa. This is his personal seal. Shih K'ei-fa was born in 1602 and became a martyr in 1645. His zi was Xian-zi, Hao Daoling. He was honored posthumously during the Yongli reign with the name Wen Zong. He was a native of Daxing in Sun-tian Prefecture, but he was originally from Hai-feng Prefecture, Henan Province. In the first year of the Tianqi reign, 1621, he attained the Hsiu-ch'i degree through public examination presided over by Zhuo Kuang-tou, 1575 to 1625, who endorsed him to be the top graduate. In the 5th year of the Tianqi reign, 1625, Zhuo Kuang-tou died in the political prison controlled by eunuchs. In Anecdotes of Zhuo Zhongyi Gong by Feng Bao, 1668 to 1749, the relationship between Zhuo and Si was recounted. This essay became a renowned literary work. Shih K'ei-fa attained the Zhi-ren degree in the 7th year of the Tianqi reign, 1627. He then attained the Jingsi degree in the 1st year of the Chung-cheng reign, 1628. He served as administrative assistant of Xi'an Prefecture, sword leader of the Yunnan Bureau of Ministry of Revenue, Director of Office for Granaries and Storehouses, Director of Ministry of Revenue, Right Assistant Administration Commissioner of Jiangxi Province, Military Defense Circuit of Anru, Governor of Anru, Right Vice Minister of the Ministry of Revenue, Right Assistant Censor-in-Chief and Minister of War in Nanking. In the 17th year of the Chung-cheng reign, 1644, after the sacking of the capital by Li Zhicheng and the suicide of the emperor, Shih K'ei-fa, along with other loyal officials, rallied the people to rise up to support Ming Dynasty. The Qing army joined forces with the army of Wu Shanhui and decisively defeated the army of Li Zhicheng. In May, the Qing army entered Peking. Prince Fu succeeded the throne and appointed Shih K'ei-fa as Minister of the Ministry of Rights and Grand Secretary of the East Hall. In June, Shih K'ei-fa was appointed to defend Yangzhou. In the 1st year of the Hong Guang reign, 1645, Shih K'ei-fa was promoted to Grand Mentor and Grand Secretary of the Hall of Utmost Achievements. On 18th April, the Qing army besieged Yangzhou. Quan Zu Wang, 1705 to 1755, recorded the final moments with these words. Minister Si knew that the situation was hopeless. he gathered his generals and said, "I have sworn to die with the city. However, I must not fall into enemy hands alive during a state of chaos. Who will carry out this act of honor when the time comes?" Deputy General Shi sighed and accepted the assignment. On 25th April, in the first year of the Hongguang reign, which corresponds to 20th May 1645, the Qing army mounted a city wall. Shih K'ei-fa tried to use his sword to kill himself. He was interrupted by his military advisor and did not die. Dozens of people surrounded him and carried him down the city wall to the east gate, where he was then captured. Prince Yu of Qing treated him like an honored guest and urged him to surrender, but Shih K'ei-fa adamantly refused. He was then executed. Afterwards, the Qing army slaughtered the city of Yangzhou. In history, this is known as the 10 Days of Yangzhou. In the 7th year of the War of Resistance against Japanese aggression, which corresponds to the 5th Ya-shan year after the martyrdom of the Ming Emperor Ssu-tsung, Ge made impressions of the seals that belong to the two great Chinese patriots in history, one from the Song, one from the Ming, to express admiration for their devotion and valor. He presented these sheets to friends as gifts, with allusion to his own steadfastness and resolve. Ge Chongying was born in 1893 and passed away in 1963. His zi was Ssu-tsung, Hao Yan-lu. He was a native of Pinghu, Zhejiang Province. His father was Si Tong, who had a library at home named Chuanpu Tang for his book collection, and a studio named Hai-ri-ni-lu to store his painting collection. The library was reputed to be the finest in western Zhejiang. Ge Chongying was skilled in calligraphy and painting. He also excelled in art connoisseurship. He was especially devoted to the art of seal engraving. He produced many compilations of seal impressions. Wen T'ien-hsiang of the Song dynasty held the position of Right Grand Councilor and died a martyr on 9th December in the 19th year of the Chih-yüan reign, which corresponds to 9th January 1283. Grand Secretary Shih K'ei-fa held the position of Grand Secretary of the East Hall and died a martyr on 25th April in the first year of the Hongguang reign, which corresponds to 20th May 1645. There is a distance of 362 years between their years of death. While one resisted the invading Mongols, the other opposed the invading Manchus. They embarked on the same journey in different periods of history. 289 years after Shih K'ei-fa became a martyr for the country, in the 26th year of the Republic of China, 1937, Japan launched a full-scale invasion of China. The late President Chiang-Kai-shek led the nation in an 8-year war against Japan, defeating her in the end. As a result, China emerged as one of the world's 4 major powers. It is also the first time in 1,000 years China managed to successfully repel foreign invasion. In the 22nd year of the Republic of China, 1933, following the National Army's unsuccessful attempt to suppress the communist insurgents, President Chiang Kai-shek ordered selective military officers to participate in the Lushan Officer Training Corps. There were 3 training sessions from July 18th to September 18th. The Lushan Officer Training Corps was located near Hai-feng Temple on Mount Wulao in Jiangxi Province. At the training corps entrance, there was a wooden archway with a horizontal plaque bearing the words "Martial Spirit," written by President Chiang Kai-shek. President Chiang instructed Hsiu-fu, chairman of Jiangxi provincial government, to print and distribute the Song of Righteousness by Wen T'ien-hsiang to army officers. 650 years after the martyrdom of Wen T'ien-hsiang, his spirit of benevolence and righteousness was still able to move people from complacency and decline. During the two wars against the Japanese and the communists, tens of millions of Chinese, inspired by benevolence and righteousness, sacrificed themselves for the Republic of China. Is it not that human hearts were reawakened by divine order and moral guidelines? On 16th July, in the 22nd year of the Republic of China, President Chiang wrote a letter to Chairman Hsiu-fu. It reads, Chairman Hsiung, how is the hot weather today? I am most concerned. Please use annotations to explain the Song of Righteousness and its contents. For instance, explain Liao Dong hat in the sentence, or to emulate the man known as Liao Dong hat. Do include details of such stories and related names. Please print 10,000 copies of this booklet in an elegant style and make it small. I hope it can be produced within 10 days to be sent to Lushan Officer Training Corps, Chung-cheng. The first training session of Lushan Officer Training Corps began on 18th July in the 22nd year of the Republic, ending on 4th August. President Jiang intended to give away the Song of Righteousness by Wen T'ien-hsiang to the graduating officers. Hence, with some urgency, he wrote, I hope it can be printed within 10 days. In autumn this year, I respectfully hung the hanging scroll with ink rubbings of the zither that belonged to Grand Councilor Wen Xing and a hanging scroll with impressions of seals that belonged to Grand Councilor Wen and Grand Secretary Si in the drawing room. Ancient music from Chih-yüan Temple, deep in the night. Mirage of the Great Song Army across Ya-shan Sea. Tearful scholars writing poems to extol the zither. Soil soaked in blood after the fall of Yangzhou. Making seal impressions in the middle of the Sino-Japanese War. Call to resurrect the national soul by Lushan Officer Training Corps. Scene after scene, through these fleeting images, hazily I see China once more.